Patriot Sons podcast. I'm going to bring up it. I'm going to ask somebody who I have not had a conversation with yet. Again, why everybody on the internet is screaming for the Insurrection Act and why Trump is not doing it. Pam Bondi set aside, we can all just be like, yeah, she's boring, but uh, JC, do you see where Trump is calling for the Minnesotans, the people of Minnesota, to actually call for this to happen as opposed to Trump just forcing it on them?
This is the Trump MO. He believes that people should have a hand in governing themselves. And if the people of Minnesota want, and he would refer to it as, if the people in Minnesota want Trump to help them, they should call out to Trump and he will help them. But if they've got it under control and this is what they want, we don't have to pay for it, but they can live that way. So he truly, after all this time, he truly has impeccable political timing. The best I've ever seen. And he's got his eye on November, and he's not going to shoot his wad before November. He's going to stick with 80-20 issues, and Minnesota is not an 80-20 issue yet. Not even close, okay? So to go in there with guns ablazing and all the force of the federal government, I mean,
right? Does that now just give the left the civil war
right
that they wanted? See, Trump was going to start a civil war, and Trump's like, no, I'm not.
No, I'm not.
No, I'm not. No.
But if the people,
if you guys want to start one, I will squash it. But I'm not starting it. Well, you look at hold on. You look at there's a lot of really good accounts that you and I are familiar with or interact with, and they're like, just send in the troops, and I was like, no. I mean, and they're really good accounts. I'm not going to name them, but they're really good accounts. You're like, no, you don't get it. No is the answer. Why is no the answer? No is the answer because Minnesota, the constituents, the voters, or even the non-voters need to call out on social media and say, Trump, help us. Until that happens, Trump is just going to let it sit. Because if you inverse that and Trump just comes in with the troops, the civil war that they left, not the right, is asking for, starts.
On top of that, if you want to look to a model, I'm going to give you one domestic and one foreign. Okay, because Trump is the same in all of these situations. He wants people to have a say in what happens to them. Mm-hmm. And in LA, Karen Bass, the fires, all the rest of it, he still did not invoke the Insurrection Act to help. He didn't deploy the U.S. military to provide security for ICE and to provide security for the National Guard. Not to fight. The military wasn't used to fight. They were used for security, which was brilliant, absolutely brilliant. and it all ended in a matter of days without serious bloodshed. It was brilliant. But LA called out to him. They did. I mean, with the Palisades fires and everything, like they were looking to Trump to help them, and they made it known. And I don't think Karen Bass said that she wanted him there, but enough people did that it was very clear that you know he had to intervene to settle this situation, or the whole metro area was going to burn up.
Right. So again, when we
Now,
look at when we look at, let me get your. You explained it, but let me get your opinion. So you see, big time social media people and people that you and I would probably interact with and like, and they're like, call for the Insurrection Act, and I'm like, no, don't, don't.
no,
What are your thoughts about that? Are they just not understanding the totality of what's at play on the field of battle?
well, I think they're also underestimating the dedication of the other side to run terrorist attacks in the United States.
Mm,
And if Trump calls for the Insurrection Act, they're going to come up with sleeper cells in all these different states and ignite a wave of terrorism across the United States. I,
hmm
I think that'll happen. I think they're baiting the trap for him. I think that's what they're trying to do.
Well, I
Now,
think he's also baiting the trap in the other. I think you're
oh
correct,
yeah,
but he's like, you literally need to ask me to
right.
do it, and you
Oh,
haven't
there's
asked me yet. You haven't asked me.
no. Remember, now I'm going to use my foreign example very clearly. The Chinese communists helped steal the Korean election. Stolen elections are very near and dear to, as he refers to himself, Trump's heart.
Yep.
And I'm certain that if South Korea would have reached out to Trump to ask for his help in election integrity, he would have done something. But what he doesn't do is he eschews Woodrow Wilson and the liberal sensibility that just because we see something and we think it went wrong, it's not our business to fix it, because that is South Korea's business to fix that. We've already done enough fixing in South Korea, which is why we still have troops there. All right. I don't see any more reason to be involved in South Korean domestic politics. I don't. If you guys want to have a free country, stand up and take it.
I
Same thing I'm
agree,
telling.
one of the other things. So to piggyback off what you have said is a lot of European accounts, especially, say, "Well, that's fine. We'll just take away your runways." And I'm like, "Really? How?"
Where?
Well, Germany or Indonesia or oh, you're gonna take away our runways. Oh, which we paid for all of it. We paid for all of your military training to be there on the Air Force base or the
Huh.
Navy base. Oh, oh, uh, yeah, we're just gonna take it away from you, America. Really? Really?
Yeah.
How?
It,
How?
interesting. How you gonna do that?
How? I'd love to know. If somebody could drop a chat in and tell me how the Europe is going to take away, or even South Korea, take away our runway in South Korea.
Well, you notice how effectively Europe was at defending Greenland.
Oh, gee, right.
I mean, it was the first deployment of German troops that I'm aware of since World War II. And they were in Iceland for, I mean, I'm sorry, Greenland for 8 hours. before they
Uh,
mysteriously got back on the plane that dropped them off and got back on and went back home?
Time out. We need to be fair about what was happening, which is and it wasn't just Germany. This was they were just doing a military exercise. So I know it's funny. I get it. It's hilarious, but I'm also a guy that just wants to speak truth. It was hilarious. It was hilarious. Now let's look at that. Do you think Germany? Do you think Denmark? Do you think England? Do you think Norway? Um, do you think Canada? The other one that's in this fight. Do you think they could possibly do anything to disrupt the United States? And I'm not talking just militarily, but just disrupt them.
Only with if if they do a huge military buildup of dog sleds, then they might have some chance of disrupting things in Greenland.
Well, could they
Imagine if they took away the
financial?
booze. They took away the booze that the Saint Bernards carry under their necks, right?
They did.
That could really ruffle some feathers up in Nanook or whatever
Yeah.
whatever the place is, Nanoob or what. I'm sorry, it's insane.
So let's get into Davos. We haven't talked for almost a week.
I know.
Davos. Um, all of a sudden, the invaders, the globalists, weren't talking about climate change anymore.
No, it's a dead letter.
But they also didn't understand what they were talking about, which is AI.
Right. I want to point out one thing about Davos. Anybody remember the first speech that Trump made at Davos? He was at the World Economic Forum in 2018. It's actually a rather famous speech, not because of the content, but he was talking about the risks of being totally reliant on Russian natural gas for Europe because Russia could restrict the supply and they could use energy to control you. And the fact is that green energy really doesn't work. And and then the camera panned the audience, and at the German table at Davos, all of these guys who were younger than you, Sean, even I mean, I consider you to be pretty young, but younger than you, maybe 10 years younger than you, were crowded around and smirking and chuckling and oh, look at the old geezer up there. He doesn't get it. He doesn't have any idea what's coming. We got this great reset and it's gonna be the shizzle. So jokes on him. Look at that buffoon up there. Yeah. Um, who's getting the last laugh?
Well, obviously Trump is, but let's look even deeper. What Trump is dismantling is right the
The,
European empire.
yeah, the post,
Wait, if you go, I don't know, he's dismantling the WEF, or he's just
no, no, no,
no.
post
All
World
those
War
things.
II international rules based order is what he is wiping away.
Yes, like for everybody that's listening or will listen, what you need to understand is that the English global world order is done. Trump knew that was what was happening. And you go, well, no, the British are tiny. No, stop. They controlled the global order. And so when they're
Global trade.
screaming and crying and saying, we need to fix the new world order, they are super bad, just like the people that are just protesting in Minnesota. They're mad, and it could be because of Trump, but they're mad that America is finally going to go, we're done paying for your shit. We're done.
If you read, if and I've given him several plugs on this podcast. I don't think he's a competitor. Real Richard Poe on
Hmm.
Twitter. He has trenchant observations about British overseas influence and conduct over the last half a millennia. Okay, I mean, really, 500 years of British, or at least 300 years of British economic and trade and overseas diplomacy and what did Mark Stein call it? But the foreign office, the secretary that sits at the desk in some despot colony in Canada and calls the shots, while Britain extracts all the mineral wealth and everything else from the nation and leaves them with nothing. Yeah, that stuff. And I mean,
Is that not exactly what has been happening to our friends in Canada? And I know we weren't able to get the Canuck on the show tonight, and he gets super mad at us when we talk about this. Super mad.
he's
But
very coy and defensive. He's a Canadian
yeah,
patriot, but
he should
the,
be.
the
Absolutely should
facts are the
be.
facts.
And he gets super mad about this, but they are literally Canada is literally still a British colony under the
Yeah,
crown. And that's what's really interesting to watch. We've already explained this, I don't know, a week ago. What's going on with Alberta? I wish we could have the Canuck here with us to explain it, but
I mean, everything I've seen from Alberta indicates they can't get out of the Canadian Union fast enough. I mean, they want it done yesterday.
true. And what we've also laid down. So what's going on now in Canada, in Alberta, is right now they're doing a petition. Any
Right.
government, right? They're petitioning their government. After that, if they get a big enough petition, then they can get a referendum.
Right. Well, they had that in 2 days. I guarantee everywhere I
Oh,
looked in Alberta.
I totally believe they have enough.
Yeah.
And would have asked our friend, the Canuck Edward. He's like, well, it's just done. I did a little more research. No, it's
Uh,
not done because Ottawa, their supreme government. So if you would think of America, Washington is
yes,
going to fight it. Of course.
of course they are, and that means it won't happen. The same way that London fought Brexit, and strangely enough, it didn't happen. And the same way that Washington D.C. fights Trump and tries to thwart everything he's trying to do all the time. And we can go through the whole litany of district judges and all the delays and the slow walking and the corrupt rhinos and the shady deals and the graft and the Leering Center subsidies. It's just it's off the wall stupid,
That's
unable to reform itself, no interest in reforming itself, but only interested in stopping you to protect its own power. That's what it
all
is.
right. So, yeah, absolutely correct. How do we actually reform this in the United States? Let's just focus specifically on the United States. How do we actually reform this and get rid of the whoever senators or congressmen? They're like, no, fuck it. I'm gonna pay for more fraud. I'm gonna pay for Somali fraud. I'm gonna pay for all this other fraud. I'm gonna pay for Medicaid fraud. I'm going to vote for this next spending bill.
Actually, this what you guys don't know is that we actually finished the spending bills this budget cycle. Okay. I and you can say, well, so what? No, that actually is progress. Because there was no way they could fund deportations with a continuing resolution. So they actually had to do the actual bills. And as was it Bismarck that said, uh, you shouldn't look at meat being ground, sausage being made, or legislation being crafted, or something like that, because it's messy. And the Republicans had a messy time in the kitchen this last week, where they capitulated on a whole bunch of stuff that none of us like, but they got Trump's main priorities in those 13 spending bills. And
Yes.
there was no other way they were going to do it. They weren't going to be able to do it with a continuing resolution, so they had to do it the old-fashioned way.
Well,
So we actually finished the budgetary work in the government for the first time in 15 years.
no, listen, Speaker Johnson did a great job. He got it through.
Yeah,
He did it well. One of the things that I've noticed because he did that is all the people still bitching. Well, you're funding fraud. Speaker Johnson is like, what do you want me to do, bro? I am trying. I'm trying.
the thing is the fraud. Everyone knows. You should have Nick Shirley in to testify, obviously, before the committee that draws up the money for daycare subsidies, right? And have him sit there and show you the pictures of what happens to it, and see if they still have the balls to put it through. You get the feeling that what happened was, hey, same as last year. Yeah. Okay, and we're done. We need our 3-day weekend. We're going to go on back. But if the committee does that, I'm going to defend the little guy. There's not a whole lot the speaker can do. I mean,
No, it's not.
the committee has the authority on that funding for that piece of the federal porculus.
Do you think, in general, the American public understands how Congress works?
No,
Yeah, I don't either.
no.
And we try to explain that to people, but I just don't think they do.
Well, it seems overly complicated, and it seems cumbersome, and it seems like legalese, and it was set up that way on purpose because the founding documents of America don't permit rapid change. It has to be incremental so it'll be acceptable. There has to be some consensus. And unfortunately for us, we're in a time when rapid change is necessary. So that means we've got to make some compromises with the ideal. And that's where people like Mr. Massey and Rand Paul run afoul of me, because they don't take to get their hit on Fox, they don't take into account where we are and what needs to be done to fix it. They don't seem to have any interest in that.
Well, yeah, it's the memorials,
But
MUH,
my
not
principles.
principle. Yeah, and they're not helping actually fix the problem. They're making it worse.
And might I say, the same principles that permitted Mr. Massey to provide the key vote for Joe Biden's spending that allowed Joe Biden to suspend the debt ceiling for 2 full years. But it's that Republican spending that he's worried about.
Wait! So this dude, Thomas Massey, the libertarian who could not win an election if he ran as a libertarian, so he
Right.
ran as a Republican. You're telling me this dude? That's the dude we're talking about? They said, no, I won't vote for this excessive spending.
I remember in the heady days of the Big Six, or the Gate Six, or whatever they were called,
Gates 8.
that
Gates 8.
the Gates Eight, all right, that basically denied Kevin McCarthy his coronation and put him through 15 or 20 rounds of votes, and they would not capitulate, they would not surrender until McCarthy promised them serious structural reforms to the way the committees worked. And Gates had his eye on the mother lode of all committees, which was House rules.
Mm-hmm.
And you say House rules. No, 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 no. All of this rigmarole that you hear in Congress is first, you have to vote on the rule as to how you're going to proceed with
Yes.
legislation. And if you can't get legislation through the Rules Committee, it dies. That is the method that Nancy Pelosi used to control the entire, usurp the
Listen,
power
hey,
of
listen,
the
listen,
entire Congress.
don't you think out of we're on the 102nd Congress, Nancy Pelosi at the 101st Congress was the most powerful Speaker of the House in the entire United States.
In the history of the United States.
Yes,
Yes.
she was.
Yeah.
And you have to, as much as you hate her, you have to give respect that she knew how to wield the power
Oh,
of the speaker.
well, the other thing is, and all you need to do is look at what was going on. Instinctively, you know this. Because when you think about Nancy Pelosi and her time as Speaker, you knew that the Democrats weren't even in Washington. They were on a boat. They were they were somewhere else. They were here. She got proxy voting approved. So once she got done screwing us with another omnibus bill, all they had to do was say yes, and they could be in Tahiti, which is where Smallwell was with Fang Fang, and just vote yes, Ewick. Just vote yes, and smash it through,
So,
and it'll be a payday for everybody.
hold on. What do you think is the most powerful leadership position in the government? I'm gonna go with Speaker of the House. And I
Yeah.
know everyone's gonna go, well, you got your guy in there. Why the fuck isn't he doing anything? And I will tell you he is. But what question? The question is, who is the most powerful position in the government? Is it the president?
Well, it is now. It hasn't been. I mean, Pelosi had way more power than Joe Biden. Right?
She sure did.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah. I
yeah, but
mean, he was no match for her. I mean,
if
even after he dug in and said there's no way he's going to step down, he had a meeting with her, and lo and behold, he stepped down.
no, yeah, I get it. And then Barack Obama had to come in and say, "Look, Joe, look, you gotta step out."
And I guess Joe didn't think Barack was as clean and articulate as he thought he was 15 years
Oh
before, huh?
my god. We're gonna have to do a
But
series
the
about how
point is that
awful.
okay, Stalin was famous for saying he's not worried about who votes, he's worried about who counts the votes. Pelosi took
Barack
it to
Obama,
another,
Barack Obama said the exact same thing.
yeah, but Pelosi took it to another level. She decided what you were allowed to vote on. So I mean, if what you want isn't on the list of
Listen,
approved topics for Nancy Pelosi, it doesn't get voted on. And whenever you
listen.
hear, yeah, and whenever you hear how Mitch McConnell was such a mastery of parliamentary tactics, that always cracks
Now
me
the
up.
Senate. Hold on. Not Senate. That's different.
I
It's
know,
it's
but
what
the point
I will
being,
tell
when
you
one of these,
is as much as everybody, all of us, hate Nancy Pelosi, she was a master Yeah, and shoot, like 100 years from now, people will still talk about how good she was
or
at
what,
being
or
the
how she
Speaker of the House.
usurped,
And
how
it
she
was
used,
not that it was for great things, but how she wielded the power of the Speaker of the House.
how she usurped the authority of the entire Congress unto herself.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like it
And
I'm not
and
saying that's great. I'm not saying it's a great thing. I'm just saying look at how
no, it's a horrible thing.
successful
She's a
she
fucking
was.
tyrant. She's a
Oh.
tyrant along with being a drunk. Look,
Yes.
all right, but when the Republicans managed to maintain, or I think they barely lost the Senate with those Georgia runoffs that got stolen, because of it was 2020 and the Democrats had the cheat machine going 24 hours a day. And now we found out that Georgia elections are totally corrupt and Raffensperger belongs in prison and all the rest of that stuff. And of course, he's not in jail yet because Boss Hogg's got things under control down in good old Georgia. And Raffensperger is like Roscoe P. Coltrane to Brian Kemp's Boss Hogg. I mean, Georgia is a cesspool. All
And
right.
then and then you got oh, good old Mitch McConnell
Well, but the point. Go ahead, Sean.
funding all of it.
Oh yeah,
Because
but
what people think that GOP is some sort of like party. It's not. The
no.
GOP is seriously only a funding mechanism. It is
Well, it's for consultants.
controlled by the Senate minority leader or the majority leader. And Mitch McConnell was the majority leader or minority leader for about 15 years. He controlled all the money. So if you were going to go run for office, say in Texas or Alabama, and you needed some GOP money, it had to go through the 9,000 year old Mitch McConnell to get some funding. And obviously, he's got dementia. He has no idea what's going on. We've all watched that. And it's sad. And I'm very angry at his family that they haven't just let him retire. But when we talk about GOP versus Republican Party, GOP is absolutely just a funding mechanism. And for about 10, maybe 15 years, it was absolutely controlled by Mitch McConnell.
Well, and on top of that, this was to be my anecdote after the Democrats stole the Senate and they were all happy because they were going to do away with the filibuster and they were going to do this, they were going to do that. And so, oh, but we didn't win the Senate. And I said, so what? And they said, well, look at what they're going to do. I said, at least McConnell doesn't get to enrich himself by selling us out one vote at a time
I
because
got a
that's what
question.
he did.
I got a question. Should
Yeah,
we just nuke this? Should we nuke the filibuster?
why not? I don't see a downside risk to it right now. I mean, anybody who wants to know what'll happen when the Democrats win the next time needs to look at Virginia. Abigail Spanberger did not run on the platform of what she's doing. She's staging holy war against Republican voters in Virginia right now, all at once, Californicating Virginia. That was not what she ran on. She said she was a problem solver and a moderate. All she's doing is creating problems. And the fact is, okay, so Virginia voters fell for it.
Hmm.
But the point is, what John Thune is doing right now with the blue slips and maintaining the filibuster and only passing one bill the entire Congress so far, is doing real long-term damage to the Republican brand. The Republicans aren't seen as people who can get anything done.
You said Virginia voters fell for it. Can you go a little deeper into that? Because, and I'll set you up. Because a lot of people, what I'm seeing on the internet, let's just say I'm an expert at watching the internet, are saying that Trump obviously is going to get screwed in the midterms, and I say, personally, I say that that's probably not necessarily true. But to go back to you, oh, I might be able to get Nick in here tonight. I'll send him a link in a second. Let you respond. Do you see how? Well, it was. Hold on. It was Trump's fault that Virginia got lost to the weirdos. And I'm going to say, no, I'm not really sure that's really what happened. Can you start
No.
there? Let me
Oh,
fill up, or can
I'll
you
start there.
filibuster?
You saw in Spanberger's tour de force that she's carving out special exemptions for federal employees on taxes and on property taxes and on everything else. She's basically conferring gold cards and lots of benefits to federal employees that live in Virginia. She knows that that's her voting base. But the rural people that vote red, oh, they're just going to take it right up the shorts. They're going to get huge tax increases and everything else. I mean, they're going to be punished. It reminds me of the peace conference in after World War One, where Clemenceau and the British decided to punish the Kaiser and put the German economy into a depression. I mean, that's what Spanberger's doing to her own state. And I always thought she was horrid, but I also thought Winsome Sears ran a terrible campaign. Couldn't even
Oh
figure out
yeah,
how to get a
absolutely she
hairstylist.
did. She did, and she would. I was absolutely as much as you could like Winsome Sears. It was awful. It was
No, it was a
absolutely
terrible
awful.
campaign. Terrible campaign.
Oh,
It
it
wasn't
was
like
a gun
Spanberger. It wasn't like Spanberger was unbeatable. No, but that clearly was not Trump's fault. And the fact is, when I look at, well, I mean, the Virginia voters elected an attorney general who, on record, wished death to the children of his opponent. You didn't miss that,
Listen,
did you, Sean?
no,
The attorney,
I'm trying to get Nick involved in this.
oh, it was added for emphasis. The attorney general in Virginia actually wished death on his political opponents. Jay Jones, right?
Yeah, that's the guy.
That's
And
him.
he literally said, "Yeah, not just death on his opponent, his entire family."
Right. But why did they win? Because before that election, the Democrats shut down the government and made the federal employees mad in Virginia, so they'd vote Democrat to, I guess, open the government back up or whatever, or be motivated. And the minute that those elections were over, then the Democrats opened the government and folded. It was clearly a ploy, and they're looking to do it again.
Hey, so all right. Well, I'm still trying to fix the invite link. But explain to us because no, it's important.
Uh,
All of the communists, haha, I know, haha, that are doing all this crap and fighting the government, and they think they're fighting the government, but they're not. Let's get into where they are actually fighting for the machine instead of against the machine. Can you start there and filibuster for about 2 minutes?
well, it all starts with being left means never having to say you're sorry. And it goes to my favorite line on Twitter, which is it's different when Democrats do it. But it's always about the revolution, no matter what they're doing. There's one purpose. It's to squash American middle class taxpayers, whether it's by shipping their job overseas, by raising their taxes, by making and not only ship their jobs overseas, but then import illegal aliens to take the lower paying jobs that they might be considering to try to rebuild their lives. It's an economic war to promote Marxism in the United States, and that's what every move they make is about. And the sooner we figure that out, the sooner we'll be able to heal because we'll be able to deal with them appropriately. But this stuff in Minnesota, it's the same thing. This is a Marxist revolution that they're trying to enact here, and they're cloaking it in. Oh, the ICE agent was a fascist, or look at that, he was trying to help the girl that was being arrested. What? He had two magazines worth of ammunition on him. I mean, come on, folks. And wait a minute. Then I started hearing left wingers talking about, well, he had a permit, it's Second Amendment. I'm like, since you ever gave a shit about that? Right now, no. I mean, it's like the one shooting that doesn't have left wingers campaigning for gun control. I, there's, and that's the reason why there's absolutely no consistency to their argument other than the Marxist revolution. So if you look at everything they say, it is supportive, and that's where the talking points come from, supportive of the Marxist revolution that they hope to foment.
All right, so here's what I'm gonna go. Nick, I sent you a text. I sent you an email. I hope you join us. That would actually be fun. JC, if Nick joins us, to add to your conversation, we got we got some followers. Let's just hang out for a minute.
Oh yeah, I mean, listen, when
Oh,
you and I get together and do this, we always
yeah.
get followers. You know that. I mean,
I
these
think,
are these might be non-football fans, but that's okay.
well, of course
They're
it's not. Well, we could also argue about how in the NFL
anybody who
world.
thought the Rams had a chance up in Seattle had their head up their ass anyway, so don't worry about it.
No, but if you're talking about NFL, there was only 2 games today, so maybe they're just watching, what's going on the internet and watching us.
Well, no, one of the games is in process, so it's okay.
I'm aware. I'm aware. Absolutely. What's the score?
But
Oh,
it's not it's not
LA
happening
County
in front of
LA
Indianans, so it's not
County,
important.
the Seagulls. 24. Yeah, so I guess we're gonna have some bird that's not real. Maybe is. So, anyways, uh, whatever. I listen. I don't care. If you like watching NFL, I really don't care. I'm a Bears fan for everybody who's watching, and that didn't work out for me. We'll laugh about who's really creating the narrative about how the NFL works. Then we could also get into. Let me ask
John,
you
I'm
this.
sorry, I'm sorry, Bears fans, but 1985 was not yesterday.
Let me ask you this. IU football. IU football.
Well,
So,
yeah, I heard every Indiana's favorite Mendoza is going pro.
mm, so what do you think about college football with the ability for name, image, and likeness, and the ability to enter the transfer protocol? What do you think that means for college football?
Well, I think Carson Beck being in college for 7 years tells you everything you need to know.
Well,
And and it turns out he was still the same pussy he was when he started. So there you go.
Mm.
By the way, for those of you who are Indianans and fans of college football, I as a Rams fan from of days gone by with the greatest show on turf, and watching the Rams get screwed by the officials in the game against the Patriots, and anyone who says that the Patriots beat the Rams in that game, no, they mugged the Rams in that game. And unfortunately, Kurt wasn't quite up to the challenge that Mendoza was of throwing back shoulder enough to get the defenders off of his receivers. But they still made a stout run at them at the end and fell short when obviously the referees kept stopping the clock for Tom Brady for some unknown reason. But we won't open old wounds. I just noticed that in the second half of that Indiana game against Miami, Miami's athleticism was asserting itself, and it seemed like the field tilted in their favor. And it was just a matter of time before they were to win, unless Carson Beck started being Carson Beck and making Carson Beck decisions, which had caused him to be at 3 or 4 different colleges in 7 years. And you can always count on Carson. No one's more surprised when he wins than he is. That's the mark of a champion.
Well, uh, I the NFL, as much fun as it is, it bothers me because if you look at the teams, I'm also trying to text our friend Nick, and you go, "Well, this is the team who should have won," and then I start thinking back to like the early 1980s with a baseball player. He was betting on his own games, and he was still the best baseball player to ever exist. And I'm just looking at this, and I was like, if I could explain this to everybody, there's money to be made in sports. Pete Rose is where I was going.
Well, I had a feeling that's what you were talking about. I mean, he's the all-time hit leader, and he's now eligible to go to the Hall of Fame now that he's dead.
What? That's all it took? That's all it took? You just had to die?
When do you think you or I is going to get our eternal reward? How do you think while we're still alive?
Jesus. Are we? What? Oh, I think I got another text.
No,
I'll deal with it.
we're still live, Sean. It's okay.
Well, let's try to figure out what this text was. Nick
I will
says
say
he
this
can't get
about
in.
Rose. If your team needed a hit
What was that for?
and you had to have it, there's nobody at home plate you'd rather have because he would figure out a way to get his bat on the ball and make
Do
contact and put the ball in play. And it wasn't a slow roller or a tapper. It was a sharp hit in some direction. Didn't mean it wouldn't go straight at somebody, but he was focused enough to make contact, and he was even doing that in his 40s. I mean, pretty incredible to hit major league pitching like that in your 40s when you're the manager, for God's sake.
could
It
you
was a
could
not
you
too many
imagine?
guys like that.
We've talked about this. Could you imagine modern baseball today? With guys throwing triple digits because it doesn't happen anymore. Or if it does, they only throw 100 miles an hour, and like for maybe 2 innings. When you had Nolan Ryan, you had Oral Hershiser, you had these guys that did it. And you and I have talked about this, where with baseball, The difference was that the coach didn't ask them to outpitch the batter. They said throw 3 pitches at the batter, and if they hit the ball, they hit the ball. You're not gonna throw 8 or 9 pitches at the batter.
Well, that's the way Bob Gibson operated. I mean,
Well,
he tried to strike out everybody, but he threw strikes. Not this nibbling or trying to be too fine or things that make games last 4 hours. I mean, Gibson finished most of his starts. I mean, he pitched 9 innings every time, and it was under 2 hours total game time because he got out there. It's like, give me the ball, I'm throwing it. Get ready and don't dig in and don't dig in. Or else it'll come up under your chin.
well,
Yeah,
yeah, I think there's a lot of, like, those of us old enough to understand that was baseball, and I
right.
really struggle with modern baseball. The shot clock on the baseball? Come on. Really?
No,
And I
it,
get baseball's gonna take forever. I get the argument that we're trying to make baseball games be less than 3 hours. But hold on. You're just being stupid because the rules that you put in place is what made the game slow.
Sean, part of this is, as usual with everything, is about political correctness. And you're talking about the 1970s where you had a guy on the Reds named George Foster, who was a really, I mean, he was pretty close to Indiana. I'm sure Indianans were very familiar with George Foster. He was a 56 home runs a year guy, but he spent all his time out of the box. I even heard Gibson say, "Man, a guy does something like that to me, the next one's going in his ear," and he would say that out loud. And you wouldn't do that to him, but Foster came along and started doing that, and then you had the guys pulling on their crotches. You had the guys stepping out, digging a hole. Here, let me get some more pine tar. Here, let me rub up my bat, and all the rest of this. And
Spittle. Yep.
frankly, I don't think it's so much of a pitch clock as it is a batter clock. Because if you were going to try to enforce rules on the hitters, too many of the great hitters were black, and they would accuse you of racism and not letting them express themselves. But if you call it a pitch clock, then they have to get in the box.
Interesting.
Well, I mean, I don't think there's any other way to see it.
No, no, no. I'm not. I'm not disagreeing with you, but that's interesting. So trying to. I know we're gonna close this out at some point soon. I'm trying to get a Nick in here because we
Any,
always love to disagree with
any,
Nick.
anytime is fine with me, Sean. We've kind of beaten it to death already, so that's okay.
So, you, you know, I've been watching a lot of live streams like we're doing right here, and it's funny to me that it's not like TV. So if we're just talking and then all of a sudden we're not talking for 20 or 30 seconds and then we're talking again, people still will be watching. We still have people watching on our live stream. It's
I like to give them something to talk about.
no, I would, dude.
And we've covered
I
baseball, we've covered Minneapolis. I mean, obviously the
I would love to
revolution
hear about Nick.
the revolution
I
in
can text.
Minneapolis
I
raging
can
on.
text him,
Tim
dude.
Walz is up to his ass in fraud. You know that, and he's trying to distract everyone and encourage them to fight the federal government. He's a fool. Flanagan. Oh, by the way, did you hear about the signal chats up in Minnesota? How this is
Yeah.
all going
What?
to
By the
computer?
way, can you filibuster and talk about that?
Well, sure. I mean, you've got Peggy Flanagan, who I think might be crazier than Tim Walz uh, on her face, wearing that hijab and talking, and then you've got Klobuchar going on about how she's going to run for governor, and you've got Tampon Tim himself, who's talking about the fundamental freedoms in the United States. I can't really figure out what's in the water in that state. Um, but obviously the Somalians run everything because they get the federal government to shower money on all of their favorite people. Have you heard about the guy who showed up in 2019? He's got a uh, he applied to for childcare assistance or something like that. He's got a Lamborghini. He's got uh, one point. He's received $1.73 million in assistance for all this stuff, and he's also carrying an IRS debt of 280,000. So I never knew that sort of assistance was taxable. But I guess it makes me feel good to know that they're going to tax the fraud too. But I'm thinking maybe we should just change the name of the nation to the United States of Fraud if we aren't interested in cleaning any of it up. Because anyone who says that Social Security benefits or anything like that has to be reduced, who's going to present a budget to me like the stuff that we're looking at can kiss my ass. Because
It's true.
no. You've got to get your fiscal house in order, and you can't just fund everything and then expect Americans to give up benefits when they've put six figures plus into this system that you have wasted and now say it's out of money, and you can't even police $800 billion worth of fraud in one loser state. It's insane. Anyway,
Yes. Holy
that that's
crap.
all I got, Sean.
Well, let me
That
ask
was
this.
my best Tel Aviv Levin.
Well, that was a pretty good filibuster too.
All right,
Let me ask this. I don't know if we'll be able to get Nick. I'm
I'm
gonna.
not worried about it. I'm gonna
It is.
run anyway. So one more question.
Yeah. So if we're looking at, hold on. If we're looking at Minnesota, I have an actual issue with this, but we're looking at Minnesota and everybody's mad about Pam Bondi, and then everyone's mad about Trump not doing the Insurrection Act. And I really, we talked about this an hour ago, but what?
Yes, we did.
Hold on. There's a reason he's not doing it. Let's kind of walk through that.
Oh, it overall, he's willing to help people that reach out to him for help, and he doesn't step in and fix like Woodrow Wilson when it isn't clear that he's got an 80-20 issue. Now that's not finger in the air polling. That is political instincts, the kind that Republicans don't have normally, or the kind certainly not the kind of political instincts that you saw from someone like George W. Bush or his father. Uh, or Mitt Romney or Captain Queeg McCain or any of the rest of these Republican luminaries. I've pointed out in the past on this show that for 28 straight years, a man with the surname of Dole or Bush was on the Republican national ticket. That's insane, truly. That's a party that totally lacks
Dynasties.
imagination.
Dynasties.
And it reinforces Sean's point that it's not really a political party. It's a funding mechanism that benefits the consultants first and foremost, which is why Frank Luntz is so fat. Right.
Oh my God! Yes, he is. Yeah. All
Well,
right.
you know, listen. I never thought about it when Goober was on Hannity's show back when I used to watch that slop, and he'd say, we're going to get to the bottom of this. I didn't realize the only place Goober got to the bottom of anything was in Lunce's hot tub. But there you go.
on that, we're gonna close it out. But so we still have plenty of people watching. You guys should watch us as opposed to watching Fox News or CNN or M Snow. Hold on, I think we got Nick. We might be able to have a little chat with him. When you're watching these cable news networks, it doesn't matter who it is, they're just trying to get watchers. They're terrible. Fox News included. Nick, are you able to connect? We'd love to talk to you. But JC. Oh, there he is. JC. I listen, cable news, other than the boomers, nobody watches it. Nobody cares. And one of the things
Why
that
would they?
really frustrates me is young people, and we've got our new friend. We got our friend online with us. Will tell you is that uh, they they specifically target your parents. They want to take your parents, give them an observation of what's going on in the world, and blame it on Trump or blame it on Biden or blame it on anybody. So Nick's here. I want to introduce Nick. Nick, hi. Thanks for coming in. We appreciate you.
Hey, what's up, man? So
We love you,
basically,
buddy.
no, the problem is that so one side of the government will introduce a problem, right? It could be immigration, arms, school shootings, and then the other side of the government will propose solutions. And generally
What
speaking,
solution? Well, no. I just said what was because there is no solution.
so
No, no.
so so the solution that the government will force upon you is more government. That's the only answer is more government. Regardless of which side of government proposes the solutions, the only answer the government will give you is more government.
Mhm.
Seriously, that's it. That's the only answer that is proposed. That's the only answer that's given is more government. And the mainstream media actually exacerbates this beyond reason.
That's
They
true. That's true. Now let me ask you about because you're a big fan of the libertarians. Let me ask you about this. When they vote against the MAGA party, hold on, I get it, I get it. When they vote against them, and it could have been a 2-1 win for MAGA, why are the libertarians so like Thomas Massey or the others doing that? Is it just memorials? Memorials, my
no,
morals.
no, sir. It's out of principle. So the latest bill that got passed, that quote unquote, every single person from Ed Gallrain, the person campaigning against MAG or campaigning against Thomas Massey in his own district,
Mhm.
they said quote unquote, Massey is anti-immigration. That's very easy to prove on stats.
He's open
If
borders.
no, he's not.
What?
That is not true. That is 100% not true. So it's very easy to say that somebody is pro open borders and they want to flood our country with whoever when
The
the
only
bill
okay,
also contains certain other provisions.
the only expense that he ever complains about is uh, deportations. He doesn't even think about how much it costs to have these people here in the first place. Because I'll tell you something. You have this rampant inflation where kids can't afford a house. Well, Jesus, there's 20 million extra people here, all right, that don't live in nowhere. They're taking up. How about the price of food, Nick? 20 million extra
Hold on,
mouths to
hold on,
feed.
hold on. By the way, so real quick, so I want everyone to know on this
But the
podcast.
cost. thing is
Oh,
deportations, right, Todd?
hold on. We're going to get into the fight. We are going to get into the fight. I want to let everybody know that Nick is a good friend of the podcast and he's worth listening to. Just letting everybody who's currently live listening or will listen to it later. And me and Nick, we go back and forth. And we laugh at each other. We have to laugh at each other. And so that being said, I want to set that clear. JC, go ahead. Argue with Nick.
No, I mean, the problem of the shortage of the Gen Z looks, they can't afford a house. They
True.
can't, they don't have any good. They
Nick,
don't have
Nick
entry
is
level. They don't have.
JC. Nick is Gen Z.
Yeah, they don't have entry level jobs. I mean, they watched their betters in Washington ship all the good jobs overseas and then import low wage workers to take what was left.
Yep.
All right. And when they go to their hero Massey, he says, "Oh, it's too expensive to send all these people away." Really? Is it more expensive than feeding them? What's the bill for Somalian welfare? All right, what 80 to 90% of them, and we feed them all, and we pay their housing expenses, their monthly expenses. They got to live somewhere. Wouldn't those be houses that Gen Z could buy? Wouldn't it be cheaper in the long run to kick their asses out of the country?
Kind of,
Why
yes.
does Tom not get this?
Okay, so let's break this down one question by one question, and let's actually let's delve into it, man. Let's figure it out. So, is your biggest complaint? Here, hold on. Let me go in my daughter's room for a second, that way I can get a little bit of peace and quiet. So, is your biggest complaint that taxpayer dollars are used for immigrants and refugees?
My complaint is about affordability.
Affordability. Okay. So, what actually creates affordability?
Scarcity
The
of
value of the dollar.
resources.
The
What?
value of the dollar.
The
Well, yeah,
lack
of
of
course.
abundance. Hold on. The lack
And
of abundance.
where is all the money coming from that supports those 20 million extra people, Nick?
How many of those people actually work for a living, and who actually
None.
brought them into this country?
None.
You want to talk Somalians? We've
No.
got some data on them. 85% of them are on public assistance.
Okay. So
Not,
have
not,
you?
not just for housing, but for food, and for God's sake, Nick, for $800 billion worth of daycare subsidies.
Cool. It is our government that stole that money from us. It's not the Somalians, right?
No, I agree with you. But one way we can staunch the bleeding is to send the Somalians back. They're
or
illegal.
we can actually stop attacking and bombing other countries. And by the way, just President
I
Trump.
totally agree.
Right.
By the way, I totally agree with that. And guess what? So does Trump.
So hear me out on this. Hear me out on this. This is why I hate government so much. I'll break it down into
I
just
don't like
two
them.
simple, very, very easy, simple steps. We pay for the bombs to bomb a country, then our government pays for the refugees for the bombing victims to come to America.
I know it's the liberal program, invade the world, invite the world. I get it, Nick. You're not
No,
talking to somebody who
no,
doesn't
no,
know
but
that.
it's also the Republicans. That
Oh, of course it
it
is.
just passed the
They're
House.
fucking rhinos. No, they're
It
disgusting.
exactly. So do you
Okay,
consider
so
Thomas Massey?
let me ask you. Let me focus back on Massey for a minute. Let me ask you
Yes, sir.
if Republicans are disgusting. I realize Massey thinks that, but why does he keep voting with Democrats?
Show me where he voted with Democrats.
He doesn't vocally speak out against Democrat spending. In fact, he enables it.
That's laughable, man. That's
Who
laughable.
who cast who cast the deciding vote on the Rules Committee? Sean and I were talking about this earlier. About how Pelosi ran the House with an iron fist.
She sure
And you
did.
could not, hold on, you could not get a vote on anything other than what Grand Dame Pelosi said you could vote on.
Yeah,
The
it's
And listen,
Republicans took the
in
House. Hold
250
on.
years, there has never been a better Speaker of the House than Nancy Pelosi. And I don't
yes,
care if you
Diagnosed the
like her or
yes.
hate
problem.
her.
We
I fucking
diagnosed
hate
the
that bitch. We
problem.
all do.
We diagnosed the problem. We got control of the Rules Committee. We didn't let McCarthy take power until he made the promise that we had the votes on the Rule Committee to do what she did and to stop that bullshit from
Yes.
getting out on the floor. And we
Okay.
did have the votes. And for the Biden debt surrender, the key vote that allowed that shit to happen was Thomas
Nick, hold
Massie.
on, Nick. Let Nick jump in. Nick.
Yeah. So who is the Senate Majority Leader in the House right now?
Not a majority leader right now.
Yeah,
It's John Thune, right?
Yeah, it's John Thune.
in the Senate, not in the House.
Thune.
Yeah,
John
he's a
Thune.
Yeah,
senator.
Good
yeah.
Thune is
question,
a
John
senator.
Thune.
So can you look at Mike Johnson, the Speaker of the House and
No,
the House
that's
of
Congress.
Representatives?
That's
Can you tell me anything about his voting
I
record?
call him a four-eyed little shit weasel. Yeah, I have
Yeah.
looked at
So
it.
why is it always on the plane? Everywhere Trump goes, we have that little cocksucking worthless weasel that's a Democrat, and somehow if you vote for Trump,
You think I'm going to
you
disagree with you?
you also support Mike Johnson, right? And if Mike Johnson
No,
supports Speaker
no,
Johnson,
no. I
where's your
don't
choice coming
support Mike
from?
Johnson. I don't support
So
Mike Johnson.
so you support Trump, but not Mike Johnson, and somehow Mike Johnson's everywhere Trump is, like a little cocksucking
Well,
weasel bastard he
Nick,
is.
Nick, Nick, I got news for you. Are you familiar with the National Endowment for Democracy?
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a cutout of the CIA. Does the same thing as USAID does. It's part of that invade the world thing that you talk about and stir up problems in foreign nations. Now,
Mhm.
Yeah.
Johnson actually managed to get a vote on the floor to repeal the funding for that, and we got the vote, and 124 Democrats were joined by 81 rhinos and defeated
Yeah.
that provision. So we're going to fully fund National Endowment for Democracy for another budget cycle. Isn't
So
that great?
okay, so let me ask you a serious question. Do you know what democracy is? Can you explain what democracy is in 2 sentences?
I can. It's tyranny.
Mob rule.
No. You and I've had very good discussions on this. A democracy, as opposed to a republic, is tyranny. It's a tyranny.
Rule.
It is.
So in anytime somebody says democracy, they mean tyranny.
Yes.
Well, it's
No,
all
no,
about
yeah,
evolution,
no.
Nick.
Hold on, Nick. Yes, and a lot of people, honestly, they just don't know any better. They think, oh, the Western states, including England and other places, are a democracy. Well,
No.
democracy is a tyranny. It's tyranny.
Mhm. Yes.
What we had, we're slowly losing it. In the United
No.
States was a republic. A
So
republic of
Sean,
states. Yeah, go ahead, ask
Sean,
me.
Sean. So the big difference is we still have a constitutional republic. We just have a whole bunch of brain dead, retarded voters that are willing to sacrifice principles for what they think they want based on their brainwashing.
I can agree with that, Nick.
We have a whole population of stupid, ignorant voters.
I think
If
I
one
think
person on
Yeah,
the
I think
but does it
I think they
isn't
do. I
every
think they do
every
okay. I think they
hold on,
do.
hold on,
I think the
isn't
voters
every
do okay when you
country
tell them the truth,
full
but
of
no one does.
ignorant voters? And then
so
people like me, you, and John. John, go
so
I
ahead.
think
dude,
I think if you give the voters the straight story, they do the right thing most of the time. I just think the propaganda right now is over the top.
and that's where you
Nick,
become an absolutist, right? So when you look at Star Wars, you take the Sith. they're absolutist. But we need to be absolute in principle, not in action. So when we look at the Constitution, even the Second Amendment, the right to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. When is infringible okay? It's never, ever, ever, ever. It doesn't matter if it's a blue-haired transvestite or a crazy army person
I'm not talking about
that has
taking
served this
guns away from
country
you,
and that's
but I
actually
don't
taken a,
think, but I don't think
but
it's a
like,
great idea to. I don't think it's a great idea to bring 3 magazines of ammunition and a gun to a political protest. I think that's kind of stupid.
no, that's actually our first, sir,
I will
sir, sir. With all due
I
respect,
will
that's actually
actually
very clearly declared
right.
in our First and Second Amendments. That is our right.
No,
That
I
is our
understand
duty
that,
as
Nick. I
Americans.
understand that, Nick. But
So,
unfortunately, our friends in the media have amnesia about the laws in Minneapolis because that's totally against the law. Now you
so
can say
when
the
you
law is
say when you say media, you mean globalists and who gives a fuck what they say?
well, yeah, but obviously someone does. In fact, I think it's very interesting that the largest generation gap in the United States right now is between pre and post iPhone people, because the amount of information that's available to a younger person like
Yes.
you is so much beyond what's available to most TV people, which is what Sean calls
So let me ask you a yes or no question. Would you consider it an infringement to be required to get a CCW permit to carry an arm? Would you
Yes.
consider that an infringement?
them. I
Yes.
think I technically think it's an infringement, but you know what?
Yes.
I'll take it.
Communist. You're a fucking communist. You're a bootlicking fucker.
Wait. Explain to me how I'm a communist if I
No, no, no,
don't believe I should have
no.
to have a
If,
permit
if you if,
to
if
carry
you
a
Hey,
concealed
you know what,
weapon.
Sean? If someone's going to
you're a
call me a
communist.
boot-looking communist, I'm going to take off. So you guys
Yes.
take care,
It-
okay?
it-
And hey, Nick, you can
yeah.
suck that until
Really?
you learn some respect.
Really?
Oh. Oh. There he goes.
And
He- he- he-
don't worry, he's got a lot of other stuff going on. So
yeah.
wait,
No. So hear me out on this. If our rights shall not be infringed, but the government makes us make a payment, fingerprints to register for our firearm, look at the CCW permits, all of those are infringements. And if you support
so
CCW,
should
you
we
either lick the boot
not?
or you don't.
Should we not, as American human beings, have just the
We-
ability, constitutional carry, right?
yes.
And a lot of states don't have it, but that's where I believe we should be.
Yeah, but he
Unfriended right,
supported
yeah.
he he supported submitting the paperwork to beg for the constitutionally protected right. He's a fucking bootlicking communist. I don't care how you want to take it. It's a yes or no. Either the right shall not be infringed, or it shall be infringed when you think it's okay.
Exactly.
And he chose to
It
say
doesn't no, it doesn't
he
matter.
he, he
But
chose
the
word for
whole
word to
point
say he chose
well,
word for word to say it's okay for
well,
us to beg the
there are
government to
there are
carry
2
concealed firearms.
parts.
Fuck him.
There's
No.
2 parts of the Second Amendment, but what everybody needs to understand is the Second Amendment, what any of the amendments are, were, it's God given as
Yes.
opposed to the government. So, so in the
Yes.
Second Amendment, yeah, look, I get it. Your state, whatever state you live in, some states have constitutional carry,
Hmm.
some don't, and you should fight your state. Literally, fight them in the government by voting.
Hmm.
Oh,
So,
like,
so, so let me give you the hardest perspective I can. If you support CCW, you are a communist bootlicker, and there's
how is
nothing that's
that?
going to change my mind
How is
because
that?
you're supporting infringement. You're supporting like you're begging the government for permission. You're giving them fingerprints, your picture ID, and you were saying, I have this weapon that I'm carrying, you were begging for permission, and the government sold it back to you, rather than just taking a gun, putting it in your goddamn pants.
Well, what if I just want my government, state government, to give me constitutional carry?
Infringement.
Okay. I mean, all right. You're not wrong. But,
So if I'm not wrong, then I'm right, right? If
well,
I'm not wrong, then I'm right.
I guess, Nick, what should we be looking for? Like, just should we be looking for constitutional carry everywhere? Yeah. Like you're muted. I can't hear you.
Yeah. No, I didn't hear a question. My wife was asking me something.
Oh,
Can you repeat that, man?
yeah. So my question would be, if we don't have constitution or carry everywhere, what should the state, any state, be asking for from the government? Yeah, you're muted again, dude. I can't hear you.
Article 6, I believe it's Section 2, Supremacy Clause, clearly places the Constitution before any other laws. So every single state is subjective to the federal Constitution, period. Not interpretation, but just to its clear black and white text.
Right.
So as soon as you're dealing with background checks as a prerequisite, you know, our Constitution is limited to enumerated powers, right?
Mm-hmm.
And can you show me anywhere in the Constitution that says background check for any rights? First Amendment, right? So when we look at the First Amendment, right, like the worst thing that you're going to do is make somebody pissed off with your words, right? You're going to attack somebody with your words. You're going to call somebody a racist slur, right? You don't need a permit for that. For free speech, for freedom of religion, freedom of the press.
Sometimes you do.
If you're going to occupy something in public, yes,
Yes.
like take up a roadway, you know, as soon as you make it a other than you and a person you're talking to
Yes.
perspective, then yes. If you're going to occupy a road for your protest, yes, you should have to get permits and you should have to abide by the conditions of that permit, like you're under the hours of 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. Do your march, do your protest. We'll actually help you out with recording it. Spread your word. The government should actually encourage that rather than prevent it. We'll give you 2 hours. Say your word. Get your speakers up here. We'll help you out.
Mm-hmm.
Regardless of if the government hates it, regardless if I hate it, regardless of if you hate it, the government should
Right.
actually encourage the freedom of speech, whether it's hate speech. It doesn't matter if it's people dressed up in swastikas hating on the Jews. It doesn't matter if it's whites
Hold
hating
on.
against whites.
Hold on. What is actual hate speech?
Whoever somehow interprets it as maybe there's a victim that we can create, and then we can introduce more legislation to stop that hate. There's no such thing as hate speech. None. It's free speech.
Thank you. Thank
Because
you.
everybody hates something,
Yep.
right? And it doesn't matter how Christian, Catholic, Jewish, Buddhist, Hinduist, insert religion here, there's something you dislike. And everything that you're taught to love and to do in life, it means the opposite of, well, we're all going to make mistakes, right? So say you're a Hindu, you can't attack somebody. Well, say somebody hits your mom and you punch them in the face. That's the opposite of your religion.
Mhm.
That's a hate punch, right? And it's anti-Hindu, you know? Like, how far do you want to go with this?
No, that I was just pointing something out, and thank you for doing that.
But the government has no authority to legislate that. Period. The hate speech should be regulated. The hate.
Isn't that what my point was? The government can't legislate hate speech.
Yes, the government cannot legislate morality. If so, here's my
Yes!
opinion as
Yes.
here's my opinion as a libertarian. I have the right to call a black person the N-word. I also
Well,
that
you
black
probably
person.
shouldn't, but yes.
But hear me out. Hear me on this. Let me follow through, and I will say this as factually as I can, without deviation. Me as a white dude, I call a black person an N-word. That black person has the right to punch me in the face.
Yeah,
Somebody
sure.
calls the cop. Say I call a black person an N-word. They beat me up, and I call the cops. The cops come, and I'm like, I called him the N-word, and he punched me. The cops should laugh at me and drive away. That's where I stand.
Yeah.
Everybody should respect everybody.
Yeah, totally fair. Hey, listen, so I'm gonna close this session out. Dude, Nick, this is the first time I've talked to you in like 2 or 3 months.
It's been a while, dude.
I love having you on. So, just to our audience, Nick is a libertarian. I'm a constitutional conservative. Yeah, we have a lot of fun bantering back and forth with each other, right?
Yeah,
Right,
but
Nick?
we're still friends, man. We're still
Oh,
friends. We can have the
yeah.
most hardcore
Like,
arguments, and we'll
literally,
still just look each other and say,
I will tell all of the people watching on whether it's Rumble or we got a lot of people watching. I could call Nick right now, and he would take my phone call. He's a good friend. I
yeah,
love it.
dude, you can call me at 3 o'clock in the morning. I'll answer my damn
Oh,
phone. I promise you that.
absolutely. He is, and I'm explaining to the people that are watching this because it looks like we had oh, holy crap, 35 people now watching this. Nick is just a good friend of mine. He's a libertarian, and we're not making fun of Nick. We're just having a conversation, and I love it. And so, thank you so much for watching this. I'm going to close this out, Nick. I will give you a few seconds to talk too, but I'm going to close it out.
You know, anybody here can look at my profile. You know, there's no greater rights than the rights of the individual. You know, and our Constitution very clearly says that you can commit murder.
Rugged individualism, right?
Is what made America.
Yes.
And what I'm saying is, so if somebody commits murder, right, they still have the constitutional due process as protected by our Constitution in the first 10 amendments, period, right? You have the right to due process, you have the right to everything. And if we give that up because we believe something or we want to believe something, I don't care who it is. If somebody's definitely guilty, as soon as they admit guilt, I did this, in my opinion, your constitutional rights go out the window. Right? So say somebody says I raped a 13-year-old girl.
Ew. Yeah.
The libertarian perspective is at that point you're going to get a noose and you're going to be swinging in the trees. Period.
Right.
But I also believe that you know, maintain your innocence because you know very clearly Miranda rights, right? Anything you say can and will be used against you in a court of law, and that is true. And you know,
Yes.
the prosecutor's job is to make a guilty person or an innocent person guilty, and a defense lawyer's job is to make a guilty person innocent. And that's a battle in the courtroom, and I disagree with that. As soon as somebody says, I did this crime, there is no point wasting any taxpayer dollars. There's no point wasting a jail cell. There's reformation for people that have fucked up, because I fucked up myself. I've been to prison. I'll tell you this, man to man. I've been to prison. I fucked up. Prison is the biggest waste of human potential I've ever seen in my life. There's so many smart people in there, artists, creators.
I've got questions to ask you on the next podcast. Let's close this one out, okay?
10-4.
I love you.